They say faith is proven not on calm waters, but in the heart of the storm. But what happens when faith faces fire? Real, living fire, meant to destroy everything it touches. Before we begin, take a moment to reflect. Your fire may not be made of flames, but every believer walks through one. And just as He was with them, He's with you. Welcome to the Living Word, stories that move hearts. Please like, share, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell to get updates whenever we post a new video. The city of Babylon was more than a kingdom. It was the beating heart of human pride. From miles away, travelers could see its shimmering walls, massive structures of stone and gold that caught the morning sun like fire. The Euphrates River wound through the city like a silver thread, reflecting towers that reached toward the heavens. Chariots thundered along wide streets paved with smooth brick, their wheels echoing through markets heavy with scent, cinnamon, myrrh, frankincense, and the smoke of burnt offerings. Everywhere, color and sound. The people of Babylon were dressed in linen and fine wool dyed with deep indigo and scarlet. Musicians played in the courtyards, dancers moved before idols of bronze and stone, and the air shimmered under the heat of countless torches. But beneath the beauty was fear, the kind that lives quietly in the eyes of those who serve power. For Babylon had one ruler, one voice that commanded all others, King Nebuchadnezzar. He was not a man easily forgotten. Tall and broad-shouldered, his robe woven from the rarest fabric, embroidered with threads of gold. His crown gleamed like the sun itself, a symbol of a man who believed he could rule heaven and earth. His eyes, sharp and dark as obsidian, carried both brilliance and danger. When he entered a room, even the generals of war bowed low. His words could raise a man to wealth or reduce him to ashes. To the Babylonians, he was more than a king. He was the voice of destiny. To defy him was to defy the gods. And one day, Nebuchadnezzar's pride gave birth to a dream made real, a statue unlike any the world had ever seen. He ordered it to be built on the plain of Dura, a place where all could see and none could hide. Day and night thousands labored, hammering, polishing, pouring molten gold until it gleamed like fire. When it was finished, it stood nearly 90 feet tall, towering over fields and tents and men. Its head was shaped in the likeness of the king, eyes cold, lips unyielding. When sunlight struck its surface, it blazed with unbearable light, as if the sun itself had descended upon the earth. Nebuchadnezzar gazed upon his creation and smiled. "This," he said, "shall stand forever, a monument to my glory." But heaven does not share its throne with pride. The day of dedication came with music and splendor. From every province of Babylon, nobles and servants, warriors and wise men gathered before the statue. The air was thick with heat, the sound of trumpets and the hum of thousands waiting for the king's command. Upon a raised platform stood the herald, his voice amplified by fear. "People of every nation and language, when you hear the sound of the horn, flute, lyre, harp, pipe, and all kinds of music, fall down and worship the golden image that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. Whoever does not fall down and worship shall immediately be thrown into the blazing furnace." The sound came, a chorus of instruments, bright and thunderous, and like waves before a storm, the crowd bowed low. Men pressed their faces to the ground, women covered their heads, servants trembled as they fell before the golden idol. But in the midst of the endless sea of submission, 3 figures remained standing. Their names were Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego, 3 Hebrew men once exiled from Jerusalem, now servants in the king's court. They were men of wisdom and integrity, promoted to power because the Spirit of God was with them. But even in foreign lands, their hearts belonged to no other God but the Lord of Israel. Their robes fluttered in the wind as the music blared, yet they stood unshaken, their faces calm, their eyes fixed on heaven. Around them, murmurs began to spread like fire through dry grass. They didn't bow. Do they not fear the furnace? They defy the king. Some, jealous of their positions and favor, ran to Nebuchadnezzar with poisoned words. "O king, may you live forever. You have commanded that all must fall down and worship the image, but there are certain Jews, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who pay no attention to you. They do not serve your gods or worship the image you have set up." The king's face darkened. His fury was thunder and flame. "Bring them to me," he roared. The guards obeyed, their armor clanking as they dragged the 3 men before the throne. The golden hall glowed with firelight, reflecting off marble pillars and jeweled walls. The idol of the king loomed above them, casting its shadow like judgment. The king rose, his robe sweeping the floor. "Is it true," he demanded, "that you do not serve my gods or worship the image I have set up?" The men bowed respectfully, but not in fear. "We cannot, O king, for we serve only the Lord our God," Shadrach said softly. The king's jaw clenched. "I will give you one more chance," he hissed. "When the music plays, bow down and worship the image. If you do not bow, you will be thrown at once into the blazing furnace. Then what God will be able to rescue you from my hand?" The room grew silent. The air itself seemed to hold its breath. Then Meshach spoke. His voice did not tremble. "O Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. The God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the blazing furnace, and he will deliver us from your hand. But even if he does not, we will not serve your gods or worship the image you have set up." Those words fell like hammers in the throne room, steady, fearless, final. The king's face twisted with rage. His voice echoed off the walls. "Heat the furnace 7 times hotter than usual." The sound of soldiers running filled the hall. Flames roared to life in the distance, their reflection glinting in the king's eyes. The crowd outside pressed forward, murmuring, afraid, yet unable to look away. The heat radiated across the courtyard like a living thing, waves of fire distorting the air. The 3 men were bound with ropes, their garments still clinging to them. The king wanted no mercy, no escape. One guard whispered under his breath, "Just bow once, pretend, no one will know." But Abednego lifted his head. "We would rather burn in truth than live in compromise." And with that, they were led to the furnace. The opening glowed like the mouth of a beast. The flames roared louder than drums, the heat so intense it burned the very air. Even the soldiers tasked with carrying them faltered, their skin blistering as they approached. Nebuchadnezzar stood at a distance, watching. His pride demanded obedience. His anger demanded blood. "Throw them in," he commanded. The guards obeyed, and the heat struck them like lightning. They fell where they stood, consumed by the very fire meant for others. Bound and helpless, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego fell into the furnace. The flames rose higher, swallowing them whole. The roar filled the heavens.
The flames rose higher, swallowing them whole. The roar filled the heavens. And yet, as the fire danced, a strange stillness followed. The crowd gasped, unsure of what they were seeing. The king leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. But for now, all the world could see was fire. Faith had walked into the furnace, and the next heartbeat would change everything. Flames devoured the sky. The furnace roared like thunder, spitting waves of molten gold and fire high into the air. The heat was unbearable even from a distance. Soldiers shielded their faces, and the crowd drew back in fear. For inside, 3 men had just been thrown into death itself. Nebuchadnezzar stood on the high platform, his hands gripping the railing. His anger had not yet cooled, but beneath the pride was a flicker of unease. He could hear nothing beyond the roar. The fire was fierce enough to melt iron. Nothing could survive that. And yet, something in the flames moved. The light wavered strangely. The crowd whispered. Someone gasped. Then another voice cried out, trembling, uncertain. "My king, look! Look into the fire!" The king leaned forward, his eyes narrowing against the glare, and then they widened with disbelief. Inside the furnace, 4 figures moved. 4. "Did we not throw 3 men bound into the fire?" the king shouted. "Yes, my lord, 3, a soldier replied, his voice shaking. The king's hand trembled as he pointed. "But look, I see 4 men walking freely in the fire, unbound, unharmed, and the 4th looks like a son of the gods." The air fell silent. Even the flames seemed to quiet, their roar replaced by awe. Inside, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego stood unharmed. The ropes that bound them were gone, burned away, yet not a thread of their garments was touched. Not even the smell of smoke clung to them. The light that surrounded them was not the fire's glow. It was something holier, softer, alive. And beside them walked one whose presence turned the furnace into holy ground. His face shone like light reflected on water, and though the flames licked around them, they could feel only peace. His voice, when he spoke, was not heard by ears, but by hearts. He said, "Fear not, for I am with you in the fire." The 3 men fell to their knees in worship, tears streaming down faces that should have burned, but didn't. The heat could not touch what heaven had claimed. Outside, the king's fury melted into fear. He stepped down from his platform, approaching the mouth of the furnace cautiously, the heat pushing against his skin. "Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, come out of the fire!" The crowd parted as 3 figures stepped through the smoke. Slowly, silently, they emerged, their robes unburned, their hair untouched, their faces radiant with a peace the world could not understand. The crowd gasped, then murmured, and soon fell to their knees. Even the mighty bowed before what their eyes could not deny. The king approached them, his voice trembling. He reached out a hesitant hand and touched their robes. Cool, untouched, he drew it back in shock. "Praise be to the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who sent his angel and rescued his servants. They trusted in him and defied the king's command, choosing to give their lives rather than serve or worship any god except their own." He turned to the crowd, his voice rising with new reverence. "Therefore, I decree that no one in any nation or language may speak against the God of these men, for no other God can save in this way." The words echoed across the plain, carried by the wind. For the first time, Babylon's golden pride bent its knee, not to a statue, but to the living God. As night fell over the city, the golden idol stood as silent as ever, but something in the air had changed. Those who had bowed that morning went home with questions in their hearts about the God who walks through fire, who saves without smoke or scar. And in the quiet of their chambers, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego prayed. They did not ask for glory or remembrance, only that their faith would remind others, the fire does not mean God has left you. Sometimes it means He's closer than ever. Their story became more than history. It became a living truth that faith is not proven by avoiding the fire, but by walking through it with the one who holds it back. Because the real miracle was not that they survived. The real miracle was that they never walked alone. When life burns around you and you feel surrounded by heat you can't escape, remember this. God doesn't always calm the flames, but He always stands beside you in them. If this story spoke to your heart, take a moment to reflect, share, and subscribe to The Living Word, Stories that Move Hearts.